Morning, I'm Casteel. I'm an OSU Master Gardener here in Tillamook County. We're in the Tillamook County Fairgrounds in the section that they've loaned to the Master Gardeners as the Learning Garden. Today we're going to spend some time pruning this Espaliered apple tree over here, and we're going to show you what we're going to do for the basic pruning of an apple tree. So the reason you're taking off some of this is there's several reasons. One of them is to keep your tree the shape you want it to fit the space you have. But the other reason is to protect the health of the tree. There's too much there and you don't water it quite as much as you might want to, or you might need to. You can actually damage the health of your tree. The other reason is you're going to get better fruit by reducing the amount of fruit. So these branches that might produce some fruit, we'll trim those off because they're not going to do a lot. They're mostly going to produce leaves, shade the rest of the tree, draw a lot of moisture out of the roots. We'll cut those off. This tree is grafted. That means it has 3 different varieties of apples on it, which is a nice advantage for a home gardener. We have this one, it has 3 different levels that it's growing on. So you want to be careful not to cut off the entire graft. That's an important thing when you're doing an espaliered tree. As you look at this tree, you're going to see that it has a bunch of these really long, skinny branches. These all grew last year. So this is 1 year's growth on this apple tree. There's a whole bunch of them. So the first thing we're going to do with this apple tree is we're going to start pruning off some of these great long branches back to the main frame of the tree. So I'm going to come down here, whack. And I am not strong enough to get that off with my hand pruner, so I'm going to come down here and get it off here. You might want to look at the end of this branch. You can see here, here's the cut. It's kind of at an angle. And this little spot right there is where the next branch or leaf is going to come out this spring. So I cut just below one of those. And on the branch here, there's another one right below that that's going to send out leaves this year. You can see I took off these great long ones, but I've left these little short buds right along here. Those little short buds, little fat ones, there's more down here, those are what are called the fruit spurs. And that's where the flowers are going to form and the apples are going to grow. So we want to leave those on. That's where your apples are going to be. Now eventually, these long ones would eventually form fruit spurs, but it would be too much for the tree to support. So we're going to cut those back on an espaliered tree, part of the reason we have it growing in this form is that we want it to be not taking up very much space. We want it to be along the fence and not taking up so much space. So that's the next thing we're going to do is cut off a whole bunch of these branches. Had we been in the garden last summer, we probably would have cut off at least part of these long branches to allow the sun to get into the fruit and ripen the fruit better. But it didn't happen last year, so we're doing it again this spring. There's a heavy branch that's coming up this direction, and it's running into this upper branch up here. In order to avoid having this branch impinge on the upper branch, I'm going to go ahead and remove this one. You can see that this branch behind here has a lot of fruit spurs on it, but it's getting kind of long, and I kind of want to keep this back towards the edge of the trunk. So I'm going to cut it off right about here, allow the fruit to grow, and then cut off the longer vegetative branches. I like to travel from the trunk and just go out. This branch, you can see where all the fruit spurs are. See, this area down here is just kind of cluttered, so it's time to remove a few of those and allow a little more space to come in. You can see that we've taken off a lot of these first-year whips. What they do is they're going to produce leaves, but they're also going to drain a lot of the resources. All of these branches have to be supported by that root down there. That's where it's coming from. And all of the fruit that this tree might produce has to be supported by that root down there.